So guys, what we're going to be working on today is called Polynomials Intro. So what I'd like you to do right now is I would like you to write down that's the wrong one. Okay, hold on. Yeah, let's try this one again, okay? So right here, what I'd like you guys to do is we're going to write down a polynomial right now, okay? I'm just going to do a random polynomial. Ready? Do 5x cubed y minus 10x squared plus 7x minus 10. All right? So this has nothing to do with our problem right here. This is just a random polynomial I want you to write down. This is going to be in your journal. We're going to go over different things, okay? Now, everybody, this whole thing together is referred to as a polynomial, okay? So that's a polynomial because what does the word poly mean? Many, many. All right? So basically more than just two or more, okay? Now, let me talk about what's called a binomial. Ready? So if I have 5x squared plus 2, this is referred to as a binomial. Is a binomial a polynomial? Yes. All right, it's just a type of polynomial. All right, it's two or more. So if I just had 5x cubed, if I had 5x cubed, 5x cubed y and a z. This is not a binomial. These are all multiplied together. This is what's referred to as a monomial. Now, this is not an only, there's many different types of monomials. Like just the number 7 is a monomial. Okay? All right? 7x is still a monomial. All right? So these are examples of monomials. Now, what would be a trinomial? Like x squared plus x plus 6. What is this called? That's called a trinomial. Just like, and the word bi means what? 2, tri means 3. Okay? So like tricycle. All right? Bicycle, 2 wheels. Tricycle, 3 wheels. Okay? So understand a polynomial is a binomial a polynomial? Yes. Is a trinomial a type of polynomial? Yes. All right. But there's certain things we need to understand about when it asks you, like, what is the degree of the polynomial? Like the degree of the polynomial. Okay. The degree of a polynomial. That's not how you spell polynomial. Just so you know, I just messed up there. Yeah, that's a z. That's a z. Sorry, my z's always have slashes. Okay. Degree of a polynomial. Please write this down. It is the highest degree of any monomial. Okay? So it's the highest. I'm going to highlight the word highest degree of any monomial in here. So if we look over here, what's the highest degree of this particular polynomial? Oh, you know what? What is a degree? A degree is dealing with the exponent. Okay? So when we're talking about the degree, we're talking about the highest power. Okay? So which is the highest power? Cubed, right? So this is what's called a degree of 3. So this polynomial, if I say what's the degree of this polynomial, you would say the degree is equal to 3. Okay? Now, everybody, I'm going to put a little arrow right here at the 5. I'm going to put a little arrow right here at the negative 10. I'm going to put a little arrow here right at the 7. All of these little arrows, these are referred to as what's called coefficients. That's a coefficient. What is this? A coefficient. What is this? These are all considered to be what? Coefficients. So what are my coefficients? I have a 5. I have a what? Negative 10. And I have a 7. Well, wait a second. What do we call this number with no variable at the end that's just sitting there? We call that a constant. All right? So we have a coefficient that are always in front of the variables. The degree is the highest power, and this is our constant. So when it asks you for a degree of the polynomial, what do you search for? You search for the highest power, and that's the degree of the polynomial. If it asks you for what's the degree of a monomial, this is where it gets a little bit trickier, okay? So you guys see where it says monomial? If I said what's the degree of this specific monomial, you actually have to add up all the powers. So what would be the degree of this particular monomial? What's 3 plus 1 plus 1? 5. Okay? So maybe this will make sense. You know what? If you ever wonder like what the heck is he talking about? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to type in degree of a monomial, okay? Degree of a monomial. All right? Do you guys see where it says right here? The degree of a monomial is the what? Is the sum of the exponents of all the included variables. So check this out. What is the degree of this monomial? It's 2 plus 3 plus 1, which is a what? 6. That's a degree of a monomial, okay? But if it says what's the degree of, of a polynomial, all right? What? That says what? How to find the degree of a polynomial? I know this is by the way, this is kind of a quick little review. You got to still know this, all right? So you guys see right here where it says the degree of a polynomial is the highest degree of any of the terms. Okay? So it's the highest degree. So right here, what was our highest degree? 3. What was the degree of this monomial? It was 5 because it's 3 plus 1 plus 1. This is all you need to know to be able to do well on this. All right, so check this out. We're going to go over here. It says we are looking for a what? A trinomial with a leading coefficient of 3 and a constant term of -5. Is this a trinomial? No. What is a leading coefficient of 3? This is a leading coefficient of 3. But which one has a constant of a -5, C or D? C. Okay? All right, here we go. Which polynomials are in standard forms? We're going to talk about standard form. Okay? Standard form is very, very, very easy. Standard form has descending powers. Do you see how this one descends? It goes from 5 to 2 to 1 to there's a constant at the end. Okay? Which one is also in standard form? This is not in standard form because this ascends. This ascends, this descends. So A also, that's a power of 1, and then there's no powers there, so that goes in, that's what's called standard form. So please, in your journal, write down standard form so you guys know what standard form actually is. All right? So for example, I did 5x to the power of 7 minus 3x to the power of 5 plus 2x squared plus 1. This would be in standard form because it descends. What would not be in standard form if I had x squared and then I followed it with an x cubed? This would not be in standard form. What would be in standard form? X cubed plus x squared. So in this particular example, I'm going to choose A and I'm going to choose C. What do I want to make sure you guys understand in your journal? Standard form, what do the powers do? The powers, you could write this down. The powers, when I say the powers, what am I talking about? The exponents, right? The exponents, what's happening to them? They descend. What does it mean to descend? Go lower, okay? From highest to least, or from greatest to least, okay? So make sure you have that in your journal. What would you guys say is the degree of this particular polynomial? 3, because 3 is the what? 3 is the highest power of any of those terms. A polynomial with the degree of with the fifth degree. So we have a what? Degree of 5. What's the leading coefficient? 7. And what's the constant? All right, we got to find a constant of 6. All right, so you think it's B? All right, is that to the power of 5? Yes. Does it have a leading coefficient of 7? Yes. Does it have a constant term of 6? Yes. That's it. That's all you guys got to do. Pretty easy, right? Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and I'm going to stop the video. We're going to do a couple of these right here. We are going to find what's called the average rate of change. So can you guys please, right now, in your journals, write average rate of change, and I want you to write this down and write this down. We got to find the average rate of change over the interval of -1 to +1. So this is going to take some time and a little bit of effort. It's not going to be too bad, okay? It's not going to be too bad. Well, it's not going to be too bad, okay? So what do I want you to write down? F of x equals x squared minus x minus 1. And then I want you to write down our x values are less than or equal to 1 and greater than or equal to -1. So basically, our x values are going from -1 to +1. So I want you guys, this is going to be really, really, really important. I need you guys to make a table. I need you to make an x and an f of x table. And I need you guys to go -1 and +1. Okay? -1 and +1. And what I need you to do is I need you guys to either use your graphing calculator, all right? So you can go with your graphing calculator, or we can use Desmos, okay? I'm just going to use the graphing calculator because I have it right here ready to go. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open up Desmos right here. So I have Desmos. And we have a function, and it's f of x equals what? Was it x squared? Okay, x squared minus x, and what is it? -1? Okay, so there we go. Now, here's what I want you guys to think about, all right? Here's what I want you to think about. Right now, I'm going to restrict, ready? I'm going to restrict the domain, all right? So how do we restrict the domain? We got to use the little brackets. And what did I say we were going to restrict the domain to? -1 to what? A +1. Okay, so watch how I do this, okay? So I'm going to go from -1, okay? I'm going to make a less than or equal to sign. I'm going to put an x. I'll put another, what, less than or equal sign. Put a 1. Okay? Can you guys see that? All right. Now, can you guys see what this point is right there? That's a what? A -1 and a 1. And what's this point right here? 1 and a -1. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Can you guys make a table real quick? Make a table. And we found it to be what? 1 and a 1. Sorry, -1 and a 1. All right. And what was the other point? A 1 and a -1, correct? All right. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, all right? But can you guys see the rate of change between those 2 points? Like, how much would you have to go down and how much would you have to go over to find the average rate of change between here and here? What would you guys say? It goes down 2 and what slope is that? What would be that rate of change? No. Down 1 over 1. What's down 1 over 1? Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over. What slope is that? -1. Now, look at this. If I have y1, you guys watch this, y1 tilde, not x, sorry, tilde, mx1 plus b, can you guys see that this red line passes through this point and this point? What does it say our slope is? It says it's what? -1. Okay? Now, if I make a table, does everybody see in this table, when I hit the gear symbol and make the table, it gives me what? -1 and a 1 and a 1 and a -1 if I make a table. So here's what I want you guys to understand. You guys ready? Here we go. If that didn't make any sense, we have a what? A -1 and a +1, and then we have a 1 and a -1. What is the change in my y values? What's the gap in my y values? From a 1 to a -1, that drops down 2. All right? What's the change in my x values? That goes up by 2, correct? So guys, rate of change is what's called a slope. What's the change in the y over the change in the x between these 2 points? -2 over 2, which is a -1. So literally, what's the only thing I really have to do? I have to basically find the slope between these 2 ordered pairs. So what's the average rate of change of f over this interval? It's a -1. That's what I'm going to type in to the Khan Academy. And you can see right there it says a what? -1. So I'm just going to type in a -1. If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. But I didn't. Okay? So, see a step-by-step solution. Follow along. Do you guys see? What did they find? They literally did what? The exact same thing we did. What's the only thing that we did extra? We restricted. Can you guys see how we restricted the domain of the parabola? Go back. Didn't mean to do that. So look, we restricted the domain of the parabola, but it does hit through those 2 points. So we're going to do one more and see if you guys get this, okay? You guys ready? I want you guys right now to write down. Right now, I want you to write this down and take your time. You guys ready? Write this down and take your time writing it down. I'm pausing it so you can write it down. All right, so what we're going to do right now, we have a function. This is a quadratic function. It says g of t, all right? But we're going to change this so we can use Desmos to kind of visualize it better. We're going to change it to g of x. All right? We're going to change it to g of x. And what we're going to do right now is I want you guys to make 1, 2, 3, 4 tables, okay? We're going to make a table right now for answer choice A. All right? So we're going to make a table for answer choice A. We're going to make a table for answer choice B. We're going to make a table for answer choice C. And we're going to make a table for answer choice D. All right? So right now, I want you to make an x and a y table. Just know that the y value is your g of x, okay? xy, xy. Do you guys see it says we're going from what? -2 to a 4. So you're going to put a -2 here and a 4. Here we're going from 1 and a 4. We're going 1 and a 4. Here, -2 and 0. So I'm doing -2 and 0. Here we're doing -4, then -3. So I'm doing -4 and -3. Okay? So we're making a table for each of these. That's supposed to be a 0. I apologize if you can't read that, but hopefully you were listening when I said we have a -2 and then a 0. Okay? So this is where I'm going to need your all's assistance. Right now, we're going to take this equation and we're going to type this in to Desmos. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and type it in. We're not going to do any restrictions. We're going to go ahead and type it in. Here we go. Help me out here. So we're going to go to Desmos. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. I'm just going over here. I'm changing f of x. Just so you guys know, you can make g of x, okay? And it was equal to negative, open parentheses, was it x minus 1, and then it was squared, and plus 5. Okay, plus 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a table right now, all right? And in this table, we're going to fill in some of our numbers. What are our first? -2 and a 4. So at -2, what's our answer? -4. And at 4, what's our answer? Do you guys see it right here? -2, it's a, -4, 4, it's a, -4. So can you guys right now, can you put -4 and -4 right there? Can you guys do that? Now, the next thing we're going to choose is a what? A 1 and a 4. Let's go back over here. Let's take a look at it. At 1, it's at a what? 5. Okay, so there, what are we going to put? 1 and a 5. All right. So here we go. Let me go back over here. We've got a 1 and a 5, and we know 4 and a what? 4 and a -4. All right. -2. What's that -2 at? -2 is at -4. And what's 0 at? 0's at a 4. Thank you for helping. All right, negative 4 is still at, oh wait, we don't have negative 4. Got to type it in. Negative 4, ooh, holy cow, where are we at? Negative 20. So at negative 4, we're at negative 20. And then at, what do we got to do? Negative 3. So I'll type in a negative 3. Where are we at? Negative 11, okay? All right. So right now, just looking at the table, you should be able to figure out over which interval does G have an average rate that is a change of what? A change of 0. Now, what does a change of 0 mean? It means it has a slope of what? 0. By the way, what's the gap in these y values? What's the change in those y values? Nothing. That's why I knew the answer was A before I did anything more. There's no change. So guys, here's what I need you guys to do with me, because this will make more sense if you actually do it with me. Do you guys see where it says negative 2 to positive 4? I need you guys to go to Desmos right now, and right up here, we need to restrict the domain. So we're going to restrict the domain. We're going from negative 2 to positive 4. And we're zooming out. We're going from negative 2 to positive 4. Do you guys see the rate of change between those 2 points? What is the rate of change? It's, oh, holy cow. Guys, we're all going to be here someday. Every single one of us. I don't care who you are. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how white you are. I don't care. We are all going to be here someday. This is called a slope of 0. It's also referred to as flatlining, where your heart stops beating. Okay? So I'm letting you know, when it says, what is a 0 rate of change? That's called a 0 rate of change. All right? So if you want to understand what rate of change is, watch what happens if I change my parameters. Do you guys see how the difference between these 2 points? What kind of rate of change does that have? A positive or a negative? Negative. What kind of rate of change does this have? Positive between those 2 points. But if I have between negative 2 and negative 2 and 4, that is called a 0 slope. So I need you guys to understand, when you see what's the slope of 0, that's what it looks like. So on this particular problem, I want you guys to understand that between here and here, it has an average rate of change of 0. All right? And how could I figure that out by hand? What's the gap between a negative 4 and a negative 4? It's 0. What's the gap between a negative 2 and a 4? Well, that would have to add a 6. Well, what is 0 divided by 6? That's still 0. That's why it's called the change of 0. By the way, for those of you who are listening, you're wondering why I'm getting so pumped up. I'm tired of kids not wanting to know stuff and just being content on just not knowing stuff. And I need them to understand, hopefully, when they think of a slope of 0, they'll think of them dying one day, and they'll have a flat line. I'm like, okay, I got it now. I know what a slope of 0 is for the rest of my life. That's a flatliner. Yes, don't worry, I'll be there too. Okay? Last one. By the way, everybody, you guys can get started. You do not have to pay attention anymore. You guys can simply start working. I'm going to do one more problem for people who want to learn. All right, what is the average rate of change over the interval from 1 to 6? This is super, super easy. We simply go from 1 to 6. We make the x, we make the y. I'm going to type this in, all right? And I'm going to find out what a 1 and a 6 are by just typing it into I'll even do it in the graphing calculator this time, all right? I'll hit y equals. I'll clear that sucker out, and I'll type in x to the power of 3 minus 9x. Okay, and then I'm going to check my old table right here, but ooh, that's way too high. So I'm going to start my table at 1, because I needed to know what 1 was anyways, because I'm going from 1 and 6. So 1 is at a negative 8, 6 is at 162. So 1 is at a negative 8. So right here, 1's at a negative 8, and it looks like 6 is at a 162. So I'm going to put 162. And now I'm only going to do is I'm just going to find my slope. All right, so here's all I'm going to do. I'm going to do 162 minus a negative 8 over 6 minus 1. I got to find the gap between these. Well, this is an easy gap. What's the gap between 1 and 6? It's just a 5. What's the gap between 162 and an 8? That's going to be a total of what? 170, because those negatives turn to a pot. So it's 170 over 5. So I'm just going to do 170 divided by 5. Won't do it in my head because I'll probably mess up. 170 divided by 5, and I have a slope of 34. That's all I'm going to write. I'm going to write that's the average rate of change. It's 34. Done. All right, so I'm just going to type in a 34. All right, so in a quick review, when it says the interval of 1 and a 6, what does that mean? That means this is your first x value and this is your second x value. And what should you do? Make a table. And what did I do right here? What is this process right here called? You should have done it before. What am I finding? I'm finding what's called the, wait for it, slope. It's the whole y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm not spending a whole bunch of time on this because you should know it. Have a good day.